oil painted at all since my baby was born. So this week I really wanted to get back into it, and I'm just going to start with a really simple grayscale study, a really simplified person, just to do kind of a shading study. And the first thing I need to do is mix up my paint. I think I've got what I need. I had to set up a new studio space because my baby's nursery is what used to be my studio. So I have my paints, Cobra water mixable oils, just because it simplifies the cleanup process a little bit. For my palette, I'm going to be using this disposable Gray Matters paper palette. This is about a value 6. This is going to be my mixing palette, so I'm going to mix the paint on here. And then for my painting palette, I have my Warm Cool palette grid printed out, even though I'm just going to be using the first column, which is the black and white mixed together. And what I do is I print this out and put it into a sheet protector. So just a regular, it has to be a glossy sheet protector. And I usually cut this down a little bit to fit inside these cookie tins that I have been collecting. They're kind of the perfect size for palette, almost, except you have to trim the corners a little bit because it's not quite 8.5 by 11 to fit inside. On the lid, I tape an envelope and then I put a piece of paper towel with clove oil. I found with the clove oil, the paint will stay fresh in box for months. I just slip the printed palette into the sheet protector. All right, so I have my painting palette that I'm gonna put the paint on. I have my mixing palette, and I have my mixing guide over to the side. I'll be referring to this as I go. And I have some paper towels. Normally I use Viva paper towels, but I'm out of those and I haven't restocked yet since I haven't been painting. I'm gonna go ahead and put this palette up on my easel, which is up here. I have a little table easel. The other thing I want to do is I have a Munsell value scale, so I'm gonna get that out as well. Even though I'll use the mixing guide to kind of get me close, and then I'll just adjust it a little bit with the value scale because I have one. So if you're following along and all you have is the mixing guide, don't worry about this part. It's just so that I can be consistent mixing one session to the next. When mixing the grays with the Warm Cool palette, I usually start with value 5. I'll mix 1 part ivory black and 2 parts titanium white. So, and I have a palette knife, so I don't know if I mentioned that. Okay, so I want a lot of this because I'm going to use it to mix the other values. So I'm going to squeeze out a big blob of ivory black. Okay, so we want 2 parts titanium white, so I'm going to have to make really big blobs of titanium white. Hopefully I'm going to have enough titanium white to get through the whole Warm Cool palette. I'm sure I'll have enough to mix up the grays, but I'm trying to make sure it's mixed really thoroughly. So for value 7.
Okay, so here's where the perfectionism part comes in. I almost didn't post this video because a lot of the footage of mixing the grays was out of focus for various reasons. The sound was not great because a lot of the time the water pump was running in the background and my baby was like making noise in the background. But I decided to post it anyway because I felt like it might still be helpful even though it's not a perfect video. And I felt like that a lot of the time over this past year when I haven't been able to paint the things that I've wanted to paint the way that I've wanted to paint them because I just didn't have the time or the energy. Most of the comments I get are really supportive whenever I post anything on social media, but there's always those comments where people are criticizing me for doing digital painting or telling me that I sound like a 5-year-old when I've just recorded voiceover for the first time after talking to my baby all day. And I just want to encourage you to, if you're a creative person and you have work that you want to do, to not let perfectionism get in the way of doing the work, however you can manage to do it. So whether that's setting aside oil paints for a while and working digitally or with pencil, whether it's sharing your journey, even though maybe the photos or the videos aren't perfectly filmed or edited, or in my case, maybe some of your videos sound like you're talking to a baby because you've just been talking to a baby all day.
And sometimes you have to strip back all the complexity and just start with what you can manage at the time. At this point, I'm just doing a really really, really simple, not very impressive grayscale shading study. And that's okay because I'm going to work my way back up to painting beautiful portraits again.
Some people might criticize, but the majority of people are going to appreciate what you have to share. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and insert some clips of a different mixing video so that they're in focus when you're seeing me mixing the paint. So that's why things might look a little different in some of the clips.
So for value 7, I want to mix 1 part value 5 mixture plus 3 parts white. Okay. Oops. I forgot to reset the focus. So again, I just want to mix it pretty thoroughly, so I spend a little time doing that. I didn't put the value 5 up on the palette yet, but I'll go ahead and do that now. And I have leftover. If I have leftover, I can add to it, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. So take a little bit on my palette knife and I'm going to put it up on value 5 square. And I'll take some value 7. So value 3 is 1 part white and 3 parts black. So 1 part white and 3 parts black. Okay, so value 1, we're going to take a little speck of value 3 to black. So let's put out some black. And we'll take a little bit of the value 3. And it's not in focus, is it? Value 1 and put it up here. So value 9, so I add a little bit of this value 7 to the white. Value 9, scoop it up and put it up here. Now all we have to do is mix the piles together to make the intermediate values. All right, to get value 8, I'm going to mix some of the value 9 with value 7. So value 8. Sorry about the noise, it's the water. Okay, so value 6, we're going to mix some of the value 7 with some of the value 5. And we want it to be, we know that in my case, my palette is close to value 6. So I want it to be probably close to the value of the palette. Okay, so I'm going to put that on the palette. I'm just trying to figure out how much I can fit onto the palette comfortably. Okay, so we're going to put this up here. Value 6. Okay, so we've done, so now we need value 4, which is value 5 and 3 mixed together. Okay. Just remember to change the focus. So now all we have left is value 2. Okay, so first I will put this up on the palette. mix value 2 and mix value 3 and 1 together. All right, let's put it up on the palette. So then all we have to do is put black and white up there, just so you can kind of see how the white is brighter, lighter than the value 9. And then the black. And I'm just going to start with a really simple grayscale study, a really simplified person, just to do kind of a shading study.